and I'm just gonna go ahead and hit play, and then I'll pause it whenever I feel like it. Okay.
Okay.
Feel free to jump in. I got the captions on because the audio won't come through for others. So
This reminds me a lot. This scene early on reminds me a lot of like the end of the Clone Wars, right? Where you see Ahsoka, except she's walking to the camera instead of
oh
walking
yeah, yeah,
away.
yeah.
They do that a lot. They like to have Ahsoka kind of walking through with like the towers on either side.
Some
Yeah,
kind of
I love it.
ruins that she's in here. It almost looks like maybe like a Jedi temple or something that is, kind of the ruins of a Jedi temple. You can see that marking on the ground there, which you see a lot of times in these Jedi temples. You see some sort of iconography or markings on the ground like that. So
Hmm. I
yeah,
love that. It's a very cool visual. And like this spin where
just
she cuts into the floor is classic Ahsoka.
it is. She's done this move before.
Oh yeah.
Uh, the only thing that I feel like the fall is almost a little like she's on ropes, kind of slow motion a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was like, hey, I'm gonna praise this show and this trailer, to no end. But this one little part, I felt a little,
About it, yeah.
a little cheesy.
I sense it. And she's talking about something dark coming. And, the Lucasfilm logo's red. So we know there's some big. I mean, obviously, there's Thrawn, right? But it sounds like there's something bigger than Thrawn to me. What do you think?
Maybe. I feel like the big thing is Thrawn. That's my take on it. I think they're trying to build toward that.
Mm.
I don't know that there's something bigger. I don't know. You hear everything is interconnected, and we know kind of what's coming with the First Order.
Mm.
And so that could be something bigger. The Emperor is coming eventually. We're still before all that stuff happens. And then we know, we'll talk about it later, but we know that there's going to be more movies with Rey. And so there's got to be some sort of conflict there as well. The Emperor's already been defeated. So
Mm.
there is going to be different, enemies that are going to be coming along. So are they going to start foreshadowing it this early? What's next to come? Maybe. I
Yeah.
wouldn't put it past them, but we might not find out for a few years
Yeah.
what they're foreshadowing.
They
But
tend to
I
do that
think
a
in
lot,
this
right?
moment, I feel like it's Thrawn they're talking about.
Okay. The fact that it says something dark is coming, maybe it's Thrawn, but I don't know.
Could be
I don't
worse. I
know.
mean, it
Yeah,
could be foreshadowing the Emperor.
that's true.
He's yet to come back.
That's true.
Um, this is cool. I mean, we see Sabine here, and it's kind of our first live action look at her. In
Very.
I think we did get a quick scene with her in that teaser
Mhm.
before, but we only saw her kind of from behind. So to see the actual kind of actor in that role, this is a first. She's got, obviously let her hair grow out. She still does the hair dye,
Yeah.
coloring her hair, but that iconic helmet is pretty awesome to see.
This is so exciting to me because like it's yeah, for Rebels fans, this trailer is just a gold mine. There, so many characters we've always wanted to see in live action for the first time. I mean, Sabine looks fantastic. And we knew she was coming. She's gonna be, they announced her casting. What was the last celebration, I think, right?
Yeah.
Natasha Liu Bordizio, but she just looks so much like Sabine here with her helmet and everything. And then that next shot, it's just so good.
Yeah, perfect casting
Mm-hmm.
for Sabine as far as the look goes.
Oh
And
yeah,
I know you hear people kind of criticizing a little bit, maybe the opportunity maybe was missed, that they could have utilized some of the voice actors in these roles. But I don't know if that's like a popular or unpopular opinion, or if it's a 50-50 thing. But for me, I'm kind of glad they didn't.
I mean, if you
Um,
think about it, right? They didn't use the film actors in the animated series, and so as much as we are attached to these characters, when the Clone Wars started, we were all like, "Who's this?" Who are these guys, right? Matt Lanter and James Arnold
right.
Taylor. Where's Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor, right? And now we all are they're beloved, and so they're as much Anakin and Obi-Wan as anyone else, and I think the same will be true of this. The characters are going to be exactly the same. I think it's harder going from animation to live action
Mhm.
in some ways. But
Yeah, and I think
yeah.
that for me, I would rather them try to get the best person for the role and like a quality actor, as opposed to saying, "Oh, let's put, whoever." Nothing against Ashley
Mhm.
Eckstein, but she doesn't have a lot of acting credits beyond some of the stuff that she did in her younger, and I think she did some like Disney Channel stuff and when she was a teenager, but she is not in the regular kind of rotation of actors doing films and TV. And so to have someone who is play the role of Ahsoka or someone who is play the role of Sabine or even Hera, to get these more notable actors that are actually still kind of in those, in the business and not just doing voiceover work, I think it's gonna in the end be a better move.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No,
it can bring in other fans because every one of these actors, this the actor who plays Sabine, she's got credits in other shows that she's in, and so people that are fans of those shows will be like, oh, she's now in this, like let me go watch it. And you're not going to get as much of that with some of those voice actors. So.
right. No, that's so true. I think I wonder if it's maybe harder for people when going from animation to live action, because usually when you see a live action character and then you find the animated version, they cast a voice that sounds very similar. They're not 100%, right? But they try to cast a voice that sounds very similar. But I've noticed that sometimes the casting when you go from animation to live action is not the same voice. They look the same, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not always the same or very similar, but it's not as much of the voice. And I think maybe that's where the disconnect is for some people.
Yeah.
Because like even, like Ahsoka, I think Rosario Dawson does a great job. She still doesn't sound like Ahsoka to me.
Right. Ashley Eckstein has a very
Very
specific
distinctive.
voice, and
Yeah.
same for I'm going to talk about it a little bit when we see Hera pop up.
Yeah.
But it was, yeah, that's another instance where you're like, oh, okay, it's Hera. It looks like Hera, but does not sound like Hera because Hera
Right. And
has a
I
very,
think that may be where the backlash comes in, because
yeah,
when you're going to live action or to animation the other way, they always try to find someone who sounds like the character as much as possible.
yeah,
Or if there's differences, it's minor, like Count Dooku is a little different, animation versus live action, but it's close enough that you don't really notice it that much. I think
yeah.
that might be part of the backlash, but Tuka Cat.
Maybe the best done one they've done yet. Look at
Yeah,
that.
I love it. I love seeing the Tuka Cat.
Yeah, she does look a lot like her.
Yeah, they did a really good job casting Sabine.
Got some that now. At first, I thought I was like, are these Mandalorians? But they're just they look like droids when you kind of get a
They
closer
do.
look at them. That they're not actual humans,
They got
but
these like cool spears
cool. Yeah, definitely look
too.
cool.
Pikes. I don't know. uh
Now, is that the
that
little
yes,
shuttle that comes out
that's
of the ghost?
the Phantom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Oh,
totally
that's
right. It
awesome.
is. And the next scene is, I think, there's
There we
Hera.
see. There we see Hera, and look what she's got on her back, her jacket. That
Oh,
symbol is the same symbol that Kanan had on one of his arm, things. I
you're
believe.
right. Oh my gosh.
Um,
That's
I
yeah.
think I'm right about that. I know it's that icon has definitely been in
I think
Rebels.
you are. I think you are.
I haven't done the
It would make sense too, right?
fact checking on that one, but I'm pretty sure
She's
that that's a Kanan symbol.
remembering Kanan.
Yeah.
Oh,
The only one we won't get to see in live action
I
unless they do a
know.
flashback,
I don't think
which
maybe
and
they would. Who knows? Who
I
knows?
don't
But
think they
I
will,
don't think they would.
but I could see them if they did do a flashback doing Freddie Prince Jr.
Yeah.
because it would probably be a short scene. They have a quick little thing, the fans would love it. But
Hmm.
since he's not going to be a regular character, they
Yeah.
wouldn't be as concerned with,
That's true.
which actor they cast
Well,
there.
and with Zeb, right? They got Steve
Yeah,
Bloom back,
they got Steve. I mean,
so
when you're doing
yeah,
Zeb and it's just the voice,
it's easy.
then yeah, that's an easy choice there. So,
Yeah,
obviously we get Chopper as well.
yeah. She does look a little off, I think, in that last shot. But seeing Chopper there is really cool. Right, right there.
Not quite the look you think.
I don't know what you think. I know you're a huge Hera
Yeah, I
fan.
agree. She definitely doesn't have the same closeness of look as Sabine,
Hmm. Not bad, but
but yeah, it's
yeah,
it's fine. I think the voice is a little more jarring than the look here, but
yeah. Gotta love Chop. Now, who's this guy? Are
now
these both
yeah,
of
we have a
these?
couple new characters here that they're dropping on us. Where we have now, I guess his name is Balin, which you'd only know that if you have the subtitles turned on, because they don't actually say anything. Now, this is a very interesting character. We see him a number of times throughout this trailer. We see him with a lightsaber, which I think is interesting that we, in the time period that we're in, This is post, destruction of the Emperor. We're kind of early days of New Republic, and the presence of any type of a dark side or Sith type character in this time is kind of unknown, right? Like we're not, unless I'm forgetting something that's kind of come out in like the expanded universe stuff.
No, I think you're right.
I'm feeling like this is kind of the first reveal of, oh wait, there's still bad guys running around with lightsabers. Because you would kind of feel like, I guess, some Inquisitors would still maybe be out there, but what would they be working for if the Emperor is gone?
Right. Yeah.
So maybe this is some sort of a splinter group of Inquisitors or some surviving Inquisitors that are still trying to reestablish some sort of, who knows? It could be any number of things, but I'm going to save some of my commentary about them for some of the other stuff. But it looks like we have this guy here, Balin, and then we also have her, which menacing looking character for sure. Another lightsaber user. No idea who she is, but maybe we're looking at a master apprentice type thing here.
I could see that. And orange lightsabers is like one of the, I think, first time in. No, I mean, I guess we saw Rey, right? Rey at the end of Rise of Skywalker had a different.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Rey's is clearly yellow,
right? But this is more orange. But
you think so?
I think so. What do you
call this orange? I was kind of on the fence with this because at first you just think, oh, dark side, they're using red lightsabers. But then, yeah,
it does look red to me.
It does stand out as being a different shade of red than we typically see. Like we typically see with dark side users, they have a very bright red.
Right.
No questions asked. It's definitely red. Whereas this is like almost like a burnt orange, like kind of.
Yeah. I wonder if that means he's not necessarily a Sith, but he's more of a. They're trying to, hint that maybe he's not fully dark, or.
That's kind of what I'm wondering, if there's going to be some specific purposeful reason as to why the lightsabers are not quite red, and they probably will explain that. It also, are we just seeing the sparks here of her deflecting? Is that what we're seeing? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was gonna say I thought maybe like her lightsaber was like sparking almost like the way that Kylo Ren's does, but no, I think she's just reflecting blaster bolts. But yeah, I mean, obviously very interesting that we have dark side type characters that need some explanation. Yeah,
I like it. This summer, and that's, I mean, we knew it was coming, right? But it's so great to hear August is when the Ahsoka series debuts, so we don't have long to wait. 4 months. That's
coming very soon. And this is Lothal.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And I believe this is straight out of Rebels. Like this is straight out of that last episode. This scene.
Yeah, you think actually, I think actually that's a good point. Yeah. Is it the end? I think so.
It's the way it ends. Yeah. Where you see the scene and she's looking off into the distance. I mean, I haven't done a comparison, but I think it's almost like exactly the same scene, but except not.
It looks to me like the same. I was trying to figure out why they would have gone back to Lothal, but you're right. Like Sabine is standing there by herself. I bet you the show takes place.
Like picks up right there.
Well, or is she looking? The one thing I'm not sure about is in Mandalorian, right? When we see Ahsoka, she mentioned she's looking for Thrawn. So I don't know if this is maybe the show starts with a flashback to the end of Rebels.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, that we get some sort of an intro that kind of catches us up.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing here. Or she's thinking back on this or something like that.
You don't really want to have a previously on.
Yeah.
With animation when starting a live action show. Although maybe that's how they get your canon, right? It's a previously on.
I mean, it could be if they do some sort of setup
recap,
but they do it all in live action. That would be the place to kind of throw Kanan in there.
Yeah, but I could see that, right? Because this of all the shows, this one feels like if you are not someone who's watched Rebels, you are going to be missing out on a lot.
Oh, absolutely. I was just talking to a friend
to watch
today.
Rebels.
I just showed this trailer to a friend today who has not watched Rebels or the Clone Wars. And he was like, oh, this looks really cool, but who's this and who's that? And he knew Thrawn, but he only knew Thrawn because of the books, not because he had seen Rebels. And so I kind of was trying to catch him up a little bit, but I'm like, I don't know if you're going to be able to go through all of Clone Wars and Rebels to kind of catch all this stuff. But there is a lot for people to get caught up on.
Oh, I agree. That is
some X-Wings flying in there. Now, people were kind of freaking out about this scene because apparently one of these senators is from Resistance, Star Wars Resistance,
I'm
is what I
trying.
saw.
I didn't
But
notice. I'm trying to see. I don't remember who would have been
so I'm
Resistance.
not super versed in Resistance, although I did watch it. But what was the main character's name again?
Kaz.
Kaz. So it wasn't his dad like a senator.
Oh, I'll bet that the guy in the
So I
green right
think
there,
that
that may be
I think
Kaz's
somebody
father.
somebody pulled up a
I forgot his
transcript or
dad was in the
something.
Senate. We reviewed every episode, but it's been
Yeah, it's
a
been a
couple of
while.
years.
So I think somebody had pulled up a transcript of the trailer and they had mentioned who these people were and the name, I guess his name was on that list. So he doesn't
That's
really
cool.
look like he looked in the show, if that's him.
No, but
Maybe it's just people speculating and maybe I just ran across some unconfirmed rumors, but that's what there was a little bit of buzz around a resistance character showing up in this scene.
that's
So
cool. I like that
unconfirmed.
they're bringing, if that's true, I like that they're tying it together. Even if, Resistance was not my favorite of the animated series.
Yeah.
It's still cool that they're tying things together a bit more.
Yeah,
Um,
I love it when they tie
Senator
things together.
Hamato Ziono, that's what his name was. I was just looking it up in my notes.
Yeah, my guess is
Uh,
he's the second from the right
yep.
there. But like I said, unconfirmed. I saw somebody kind of talking about it on Twitter, so take that for
Maybe
what
it's a
it is.
guess. Yeah, I mean, he does
But
look very different. He in
he
the
does
in the
look very
show,
different.
he has very short cropped hair. He seems to have much longer hair here. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but
It could just be an Easter egg that they threw in there and just, for people that will know the name, get excited, and everybody else doesn't really
yeah.
care. But I mean, but we're kind of passing over the fact that Mon Mothma's here, which is we're seeing her and she's now shown up in how many movies and TV shows? Like she's
So
just
much.
a
I,
recurring character now, which is kind of cool to see her pop
I
up
love
here
Mon
and
Mothma, but you're right. In some ways, it's just kind of, oh, there's Mon Mothma, right? It's not that
there.
surprising because she's kind of in so many shows now.
Yeah,
It's she's been in Clone Wars, Rebels,
she ages well.
uh
She actually looks younger.
Andor. Yeah, it's she's almost in every, is she in almost every show? I don't think she's in Mandalorian.
Well, she was
Okay.
in Andor, obviously, but was she in
Yes.
Obi-Wan too?
I thought she was brief. Maybe
Could have
not.
been.
Maybe no, maybe it was just,
But I think seeing her in like Rogue One, obviously,
yeah.
in Andor, and then the original trilogy, and
And then
she's
all
shown
the
up in
animated
all the
series
animated
she's
stuff. So yeah,
in.
she
So yeah.
definitely is a character that and we know based on the books, we kind of know the role she plays here in the New Republic in that, she's going to be part of like demilitarization and like kind of some of the stuff. Now, I don't know how close they're going to stick to previously released, you know, novels, and I always want to call it expanded universe, but I know nobody uses that term anymore. But
Yeah.
the novels and
Legends
books, the
or
that
the,
stuff. When it comes to the new canon, though, I'm talking about
yes. Oh yeah, the
not
new canon.
Legends.
Yeah.
There has been plenty of stuff about her in the new canon
Oh
post
yeah,
Return of the Jedi.
there has
So,
been quite a bit.
so
Okay,
this is
the
Thrawn,
big.
which I'm kind of seeing now. Before, when I watched this, I was kind of like, okay, this has to be Thrawn, but you can't really see even the color of his skin. But now that I'm seeing this angle, I'm like, oh, I can see a little blue there on the side of his cheek. You can see kind of some blue poking out. So yeah, that's Thrawn. He's got the iconic white admiral uniform and the dark hair, and I think it's at this point we're just at rumors as far as who's playing him, or has it been confirmed?
I thought it. I don't think it was ever confirmed because they would have mentioned it in the official press
There's a
release.
lot of assumptions as to who's playing him, but I don't think it's officially been revealed
Right.
and hard to
I think it was
recognize.
Lars Mikkelsen was the rumor.
Whoever voiced him, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
which would be great.
Thrawn's return. Here we go. Wait for it. Heir to the Empire.
I
A nice little forced reference there.
love it.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, that is. Of course, you have to say "heir to the empire" right as you show Thrawn on screen, right? I feel like if you didn't, you'd be throwing away a huge opportunity.
I'm sure it got a big cheer
Oh
in the
yeah.
room at Celebration.
Yes.
And so this is that woman that Ahsoka faced in her episode of The Mandalorian,
Yes.
which I believe they kind of implied she killed her. I have
Yes, I
to.
guess then this must be before that then before Mandalorian because it was yeah, because
Or maybe she didn't really die.
that could be it too. Because she was, I mean, she was in the air. Was it the heiress, right? No, no, it was. Sorry, that was it was in the Jedi. Magistrate Morgan Elsbeth was her name,
What does her Wikipedia say? Does it say she's
and
deceased? I guess now they probably updated it. They're pretty quick on that stuff.
I mean, it just
But
says she bests. I'm sorry, I'm looking actually at my notes from my
oh, okay.
podcast show notes, but she bested the uh the magistrate, but I don't know if she
Maybe
killed
she
her.
didn't. Maybe
I
I'm
don't
just
think she killed
remembering
her. Yeah,
incorrectly, or maybe they left it unclear. But for some reason, I assumed that Ahsoka had killed her, but maybe not.
I thought so too, but I guess not.
But so
She's still
obviously she's
around.
here. So there's that guy again. Now this is where people are kind of speculating the world between worlds, right?
Right.
This background here.
Oh, that's totally the world between worlds. I
You
feel
think
like
so?
I think so. Maybe I'm crazy, but that looks to me like the world between worlds. And I mean, I don't know what they're doing here, but
Why does it just look like they're on a movie set here with
maybe
the
it's the
lighting and
volume.
stuff? Like that's what it looks like to me, honestly.
But then again,
Is
the world between worlds is this kind of weird, you know, ethereal thing.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely is. And once again, this is me attempting to speculate on something without having the time to research it. And I'm forgetting exactly how everything ended with the World Between Worlds. I know they shut it off, right? Like where
Right.
basically you wouldn't be able to access it, at least not at the location that they had accessed it at before.
But there's no reason why. I mean, we saw Ahsoka entering that temple or something at the beginning of the trailer. I wonder if she found another access point to the world between worlds.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, I'm very curious to see why they would kind of go back to that. Maybe this is another group, or this guy here is trying to, get there for some reason. Maybe they're trying to resurrect the emperor, or maybe they're trying to do something else that, they could
Mm-hmm.
take advantage of the powers that are in this world between worlds. I
Or maybe
really
she thinks
thought,
she can figure out where they went, like Thrawn and Ezra. If she goes the world between worlds and kind of goes back in time and watches and sees.
yeah.
I don't
So
know.
yeah, this will be very interesting to see kind of what the purpose of bringing it back is. I always thought this was a very dangerous plot device that could
Yes.
really get messy if you continue. So I thought, no, they'll have it in Rebels. That's it. We'll never see it again. So I'm already
Yeah.
being proven wrong here if that's what this is, that we do see it again. But I also didn't think Dave Filoni would be so involved in all this stuff. So the fact that he's so involved in all the live action now, and now he's going to get a movie.
I know. Can you believe it? He's got a
He's
movie.
yeah,
Oh,
he's gonna, he can put his stamp on things more. So it doesn't surprise me as much now that this is back. But I
yeah.
don't know that we would have ever seen this again if Dave Filoni wasn't involved. But I hope they don't do something crazy with it, where it's like, oh, now this can introduce us to an alternate universe, or this can bring this character back that's now,
I don't. I don't think they
like,
will. Okay, hold on. Crazy theory. I don't actually
okay.
believe this. I don't actually believe this. Preface it by so Dave Filoni's working on a film, and they said, and we'll probably talk about this more in a little bit, that Filoni's film. Well, I'm trying to look up the exact wording because it's very interesting. Um, Dave Filoni's film will focus on the New Republic and close out the interconnected stories told in The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and others.
Mhm.
Close out is a very interesting word. What if the world between worlds opens up a portal to another alternate timeline that then allows Dave Filoni's movie to wrap up this era of Star Wars and reset the entire galaxy for Disney? I really hope they
So
don't do that. That would be terrible. I hate the idea. Don't do it, please. But you know,
so that is like the hopeful speculation for all the sequel haters out there. Is that like, oh, the sequels are
but
horrible
but
and we
that
need
also
to.
messes up everything else. Like,
Right.
no, don't do it. Right?
Yeah, I
It messes
don't.
up the original trilogy too, and the prequels and everything. Yeah,
One thing I like about Star Wars, and I think one thing that sets it apart from things like Marvel and DC, is that it doesn't have
exactly.
this multiverse kind of idea. It is one story, it's a big saga,
Yep.
and it's all connected. And they've, even with adding all the animation and the live action, we've connected it even more. And sure, some of the story points went a different direction than I would have liked, but just because I don't like what they did with Luke Skywalker doesn't mean I want them to completely reboot the
Exactly.
entirety of either the universe or even the sequels and say, okay, let's try again. Because who's to say that that next iteration isn't gonna
Right.
be, something different than what I want? So the story is what it is, and for people that are speculating that the world between worlds is going to be the device that they use to kind of reset the galaxy and quote unquote fix what Disney messed up, I don't think at all that
I
that
hope
would
not.
be how they
Yeah.
use it. So, but I've been proven wrong plenty of times as far as things I thought they would never do. Uh, but I am surprised to see it here. In fact, I didn't even think about it until other people had mentioned it. After I saw the trailer, I didn't even notice this. And then other people were like, "Oh, look, the world between worlds." I'm like, "Oh yeah, kind of forgot about that." So,
Right. I do love seeing the world between worlds. So I'm excited. Uh, but yeah, I hope they don't. I hope they just use it well, like they did in Rebels, to like show some great moments and stuff, but not uh there's interesting insights you can glean from the world between worlds without resetting everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then all the Raylos out there probably hoping that they use this as some device to somehow bring Ben back, but we'll see. All right. So this guy, I will say that this guy, as soon as I saw him, I'm like, where have I seen this guy before? I feel like this character has been done, or somebody that looks like him in Star Wars, probably in the comics, like was something that popped into my head. I'm like, man, I'm just seeing this visual with this guy with white hair and a beard holding a lightsaber. Where have I seen this before? And so I did start looking around a little bit and found a character from the old Legacy comics. Do you remember Legacy comics?
Yeah.
Not Legends. So don't not to be
Right.
mixed up with Legends, but Legacy. There was a comic series that was set like 100 years after, you know,
Yes.
the latest books that had come out, and it was like Luke Skywalker's grandson, Cade Skywalker. Remember all that?
Yep.
So they had the
I do
knights.
remember. It's
They had the knights of the or the. Why am I blanking on it? Was it called the Knights of the Empire? Imperial Knights. Sorry. Okay.
yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Imperial Knights was this group of force sensitive people who actually weren't the bad guys, but they were kind of working for the Imperial remnant of that time, which was actually not necessarily a bad organization. And so they all wore red armor, and there was a character in that group that had this kind of look to him with the white hair and the white beard. And this guy also kind of has this armor look to him. So that's where I was like, oh yeah, that's what it's reminding me of, is this Imperial Knight character. So take it for what
I
it's
always
worth. But
Yeah, I always thought that series was a little interesting, but a little odd. But the so I was looking a bit more. He's played by Ray Stevenson, and his the ladies, Ivana Sakano, that's her name, and they're playing unnamed Dark Jedi. So
Dark Jedi. Okay.
yeah,
So that
that
has
was in
been
some of the other coverage, I guess.
got it. Okay. So that kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
Not quite Inquisitors, but maybe some fallen Jedi that have, and maybe they have some good intentions. That's kind of what I'm expecting almost, is that they're not going to be like fully evil dark side characters, but more like they just don't agree with the way that, the Jedi are handling things, and
right.
they kind of want to do it a different way. And so they're kind of coming into conflict with people like Ahsoka,
Yeah,
but not necessarily completely evil. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
I think that makes sense.
There's Hera again.
Much better
Um,
shot of her.
yeah. Um, And that's where when you hear her voice for the first time was when it was a little jarring for me because I'm so used to hearing Vanessa Marshall's voice there.
I will say some of the shots looked a little fake. I don't know what it was. It just seemed a little. I couldn't quite place it.
The costumes are too fresh looking. They're not weathered enough, maybe.
Maybe, yeah, maybe that's it. I don't
Maybe that's
know.
the look they're going for because it's like the new Republic, so they haven't had
Right,
time to scuff up
right.
their uniforms yet.
That's true.
Is that
Requisitions just gave
Akbar's
him a
son
brand new
there?
thing.
We have
I don't know. Could be. See that again, that just totally looks like World Between Worlds to me.
oh yeah. Let me back up there. Because once again, I
All
did
of
not. Oh yeah,
this,
that definitely much more looks like it with the
yeah,
circles and
and the
stuff. Yeah.
lines through the yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I can see it more in this shot. A lot of lightsaber conflict in this trailer.
Mm-hmm.
They know what people want, I guess, but
I mean, it's a show about a former Jedi, right? You have to have lightsaber conflict.
yeah, and there's that woman again who I don't know. I'm gonna
Ivana
kind of
Sakno.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna say she's the apprentice of the other
I
guy,
think that seems fair,
just
right?
only because he's the one that has kind of been more in the speaking roles and
And
conflict
he's
with
older, and
Ahsoka.
usually the apprentice is the younger
Yeah,
one.
I know I'm doing a lot of stereotypical assumptions here, but I'm assuming he's the master and she's the apprentice, just based on the way they're portrayed in the trailer.
Yeah, the
Nice
Jedi
hallway
foe.
scene here. We like those.
Kind of reminds me of Vader at the end of Rogue One a little
Yeah,
bit,
absolutely.
and then Ezra.
There's Ezra, um, still wearing the same clothes. He's got that like that white kind of shoulder thing that Ezra is always wearing. I guess this is probably just a hollow of him from the time that they lost him or whatever.
That's what I took it as. Like this is, I think this is just Sabine looking at a hologram of Ezra remembering him.
Right, not actually like communicating with him.
Right.
Yeah.
So it makes sense he's
Anything?
wearing the same clothes.
I haven't looked at any of the Arabesh to see if there's anything notable worth translating, but it doesn't look like I haven't seen
No,
any
it's not a
Arabesh
much,
yet.
just a little bit. It's like 2 letters right there. That's it.
Yeah, which I don't even, based on what I'm saying. Oh, I guess they're kind of
It's kind
they're
of hard to read. Yeah.
yeah, they're turned vertically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Pop quiz. Yeah.
yeah. So this is a new. We've seen the other two characters with lightsabers. Now we have another one. This guy or girl looks much more like an inquisitor than the other two. And you can even see the handle of the lightsaber here that it's
Very
got that.
inquisitorious.
Yeah. So, and this one is a little more red than the others.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of wondering if this character maybe isn't even affiliated with the other two and could be
I
maybe
could
just
see
like
that.
an inquisitor that survived or whatever. So I don't know, but throughout this trailer, we already get 3 different characters that they've come up against that are using lightsabers. So Ahsoka's gonna have her work cut out for her.
She is. I mean, again, as a former Jedi, I would hope she has a lot of lightsabers to go up against. Otherwise, she's going to blow through all of everybody. Warrior, outcast, rebel. And get some great Jedi. Get some great shots of Ahsoka running around. And good
And
old Hu Yang.
Yeah, there we go. Who was voiced by David Tennant in the animated series.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like David Tennant here. So they probably didn't want to pay the money for him to come back and do the voiceover, maybe. Or maybe it is him and they just kind of made his voice more robotic. But yes, very, very recognizable character from the Clone Wars.
Yes.
Cool to
and he
see
talks
that.
about it's time to begin again, interestingly.
Also looks like Lothal in the background.
I think so.
Or at least a picture of Lothal.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Also, the logo, right? The Ahsoka logo, that definitely looks World Between Worlds
Good point.
in the background, which I think we talked about when they announced the series, but it's seeing the World Between Worlds is a whole different thing.
That's a good point. Yeah, I agree. I think that they were making it very clear that is going to be playing a part here, and they're not trying to hide it in the trailer. as far as why they're using it or who's trying to access it, it could be Ahsoka, it could be these dark side characters, these fallen Jedi or whatever, who are trying to, and she's just trying to stop them. She's trying to protect it. Who knows what the point of bringing it back is, but it does look like that might be a major plot point that we have to look forward to. Did they say how many seasons we're getting with Ahsoka?
They did not. I don't. It's not that I've heard. I think it might just be one,
Yeah,
or maybe they'll do more. I would love to see more. Maybe it's
they haven't said, because like with Obi-Wan, they kind of made it a big deal that it was
it's a
like
limited
this is just a
series.
limited series.
I
Andor,
hope
they
they get
said it's
multiple.
just 2 seasons. I feel like Ahsoka's might be kind of like Mandalorian, where they leave it a little more open-ended. And if it's successful, we'll see more seasons. If not so successful, then it might end with 1 season. But I can't imagine that this show wouldn't do well
I
on
hope. I
Disney
mean, this
Plus.
this this is just Rebels season 5, basically. That's what it feels like, with a more of a focus on Ahsoka, where everyone after the Clone Wars ended was like, "We want Ahsoka, right?" And they started with Rebels season 1, no Ahsoka. They introduced her in season 2, but she was always. Remember, Dave would always say, "This isn't her story, right?" She's a character in the series, but it's not her story. She's not the focal point. In this series, it really feels like, no, this. I mean, obviously, the show is named after her. It is her story, and that's why now I suspect that all the Rebels characters will just be, you know, ancillary to that, and they may play a big role like Ahsoka did at times, but it's Ahsoka's story now.
Yes, it feels like it's definitely gonna be Ahsoka's story. I think the the Thrawn going off to wherever he went off to with Ezra is going to be a big plot point. Sabine's trying to find Ezra. Ezra's connected to Thrawn. Thrawn's connected to whatever, you know. I think that they're going to tie it in probably to the beginnings of the First Order, even because of based on wherever he went. I don't know. I think there's a lot that they can kind of start to set the groundwork for here.
Yeah,
So, and then just bringing Thrawn in, how much are you going to utilize the existing story of Thrawn? You are kind of in the era of the original Thrawn books, but you don't, you know, most likely they're not going to follow that storyline because
right.
they're probably not going to bring Han and Leia into it. They're probably not going to clone Luke. Uh, I did hear that Palion was shown at some point in
Oh,
some of the they mentioned him or they showed a clip with him or something like that. I
that would
saw
be
that
cool.
on Twitter. And then but then you have like the crazy clone Jedi that was in the books too. Sabath or whatever his name was.
So
So you know, do they bring a character like that in? You know, so it'll be interesting to see what they pull from the existing Thrawn story and kind of what they leave on the side and what they kind of try to do, you know, from their version of it. For those out there that think they're just going to straight up do a retelling of Heir to the Empire, don't get your hopes up. I don't think that's what we're going to get here. But
yeah, no, definitely not.
there probably will be plenty of Thrawn.
I agree. I'm very excited.
All right. Well, any other thoughts on that trailer before we move to the other news?
Man, I'm just so excited. Ahsoka is one of my favorite characters. Of course, Clone Wars and Rebels just so near and dear to my heart. And seeing a sequel and live action, no less, just makes me very, very happy.
Yeah,
So,
I wasn't sure. I was one of those people that said early on that some of these characters, like they work in animation. Let's leave them in animation. I didn't necessarily want to see an Ahsoka show live action, uh, but it's happening, and I did really like this trailer, and so I can see the potential here. And you know, the fact that Filoni's so involved makes sense that we're seeing these characters kind of getting pulled in. So, and I really loved Rebels. So the fact that there's obviously big ties to Rebels and I get to see more of those characters' story, I'm
yeah.
not going to complain that they're in live action now. But yeah, I was kind of like, oh, do we really need Ahsoka in live action? But we're getting it. So might as well enjoy it.
Oh, yeah.